The Conditions of Learning by Robert Gagnes. You've probably never thought about how someone learns to throw a ball, or how a child learns to write. They are very different skills, but the steps in learning them are quite similar, and have been theorized by Robert Gagnes' Conditions of Learning. So who was Robert Gagnes? Well, he was born in 1916 in Massachusetts. He trained as an educational psychologist and worked in aviation during World War II. After the war, he returned to education and went on to write his seminal work, The Conditions of Learning, in 1965. Gagnes states that there are many types of learning, which require different instruction. He identifies 5 major categories of learning. The first of these is verbal information, which is simply memorizing facts and being able to recite them later on. Intellectual skills are not only knowing what, but how to do something, like solving a puzzle. Cognitive strategies allow us to manage and plan our learning process, telling us how to go about performing a task. Motor skills are based around precise muscular movements to engage in an activity, such as swinging a golf club. Finally, attitudes are the outcomes of learning that influence choices of personal action, such as influencing a willingness to exercise. Gagnes goes on to outline 9 events of instruction, which he states are events external to the learner that support the internal processes of learning. The first of these is to gain attention. This is a stimulus of some sort to begin instruction, such as a story or connecting with the learner's own experiences. Informing the learner of the objective is telling the learner what they'll be able to do at the end of the instruction. An example of this is telling a class that they will be able to write narrative texts. The next step is to stimulate recall of prior knowledge. This is connecting what the learner is about to learn to what they already know. Presenting materials is the next step. This involves presenting content across a range of different modes, so as to best engage the learner. The next step is to provide guidance to the learner. This is to ensure the learner is comfortable during the various learning activities at all times, and to assist them if they are confused. Step 6 is to elicit performance. This is where the learner can practice and apply their skills. This gives the learner a chance to develop on their own under the guidance of their instructor. The next step is to give feedback. This feedback should be specific instead of general by providing specific praise and criticisms so the learner is fully aware of where to go next. Step 8 is to assess performance. This is where the learner can be evaluated and their success determined. It also identifies areas where the learner can improve. Finally, step 9 is enhanced retention and transfer. This allows a review of the lesson and gives the learner a chance to apply their skills in the field and to see if they have retained them. So what are the benefits of Gagnes' Conditions of Learning? Well, it provides a stepped approach for the learning process. It allows the learner to be fully engaged when all the steps are followed. And it allows the educator to stop and reflect on their own practice, ensuring that they have followed each of the steps involved in the learning process.
Robert Gagnes described conditions of learning as a means through which individuals and groups acquire relevant skills to be accepted in society. Learning is a direct result of human behavior which is influenced by the environment and the individual thinking process of learners. The foundation of Gagnes' conditions of learning lies in the theories of behaviorism. He also mentioned that learning a specific skill depends on the previous learning skills in a logical and sequential manner that contributes to building and a learning experience. Gagnes proposed a series of critical conditions of learning which he then regarded as important in the learning of different outcomes. These outcomes are distinct in terms of internal organization in long-term memory and required mental processing. Number 1. Verbal information includes declarative knowledge that is stored in distributed forms. It should be related to previous information that draws attention to other features by including variations in speech or print, provides meaningful content for effective encoding and cues for effective recall and generalization. Example of verbal communication are conversation, a speech or presentation, and having a phone call with someone. Verbal communication is the alternative to nonverbal communication, whereby messages are conveyed silently, either written in symbols or through body language. Number 2. Intellectual skills include procedural knowledge such as step of process or hierarchies with higher and lower order skills. There is a need for prior knowledge here. It calls attention to distinctive features and stimulates the recall of previously learned component skills. Memory comprehension, reasoning, analyzing, and problem solving are examples of intellectual skills that companies desire for their workers. Number 3. Cognitive strategies are skills that influence the skills and activation of other systems by breaking the problem into parts. It uses less prior knowledge and more practical examples and experience backed by the feedback on the strategy or outcome. Activities which can be described as cognitive strategies includes making mind maps, visualization, association, mnemonics, using clues in reading comprehension, underlining keywords, scanning and self-testing, and monitoring. Number 3. Motor skills deals with skills where errorless performance is expected. It encourages mental practice, prior learning of the process, and practice enhance the overall process. Example of gross motor skills include sitting, crawling, running, jumping, throwing a ball, and climbing stairs. Action and require a human to observe and learn from those who also provide feedback. Attitude is a way of feeling or acting towards a person, thing, or situation. Passion for a sport, dislike for a certain actor, and negatively towards life in general are each example of an attitude.
Went from Mr. 305, Dade County, to Mr. Worldwide, all around the world. And now, we're international, so international.